Welcome everybody to the Mind, Body, and Soul Show, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth, and I'm also the one that actually started Conscious Evolution Media.com 12 years ago. Only 12 years, only a decade. That's nothing. And we have a fantastic show for everybody this evening. The theme of the show this evening is the guys upstairs, and we have our fantastic guest directly from the UK. Amanda Hart is joining us, and she's been on the network before. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Excellent.
And Amanda Hart is a life path consultant, an astrologer, a psychologist, an author, and many other things, which we're going to find out just in a moment. But before we get started, if I took all those titles away, if I had that kind of a power, which I don't, but let's pretend that I do. What's left? Who is really Amanda Hart?
Well, at this moment in time, I suppose mother, because 26 years ago, at this precise moment in time, I was actually giving birth to my first child. So I think that's been the sort of pinnacle of my life change, and that's always there etched into my soul, being a mother, and that's who I think I am primarily.
Great. All right. So just to make sure that our viewers can get related to you, just give us a little short synopsis as to your story, your life story, and please do not begin at birth.
No. I could read the book to you.
Skip a few years.
Well, starting with writing the book, I think that was the difficult part. I was asked to write the book in 2008, and I challenged that. It was only when I became unwell that I actually decided, well, I'm put in this position now. I can't really go anywhere, can't do anything, can't work. I think I pretty much need to sit down and write this. And actually going back, writing the book, I realized that I had quite a profound experience, which led from a very violent and volatile upbringing as a child. And when I left home and went out into the world as an adult, I just assumed that life would be freedom, love, light and twinkles and adventure. And it wasn't. It was actually worse. So I spent most of my adult life trying to find the solutions as to find about my human condition, what had caused all the problems. And in that, I became an intuitive consultant because I realized I had this ability to see the solutions in others, and that in itself helped me to find the solutions in myself. That's it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very interesting. So what happened to you that did you have a major illness, or what did actually happen?
Yeah, well, I had meningitis. That was 13 years ago. And at the time, I suppose you could say I was playing at spirituality. I was dipping my toes into the water. And yes, I did become the workshop junkie. I did, go and do all the wacky stuff. But when I used to go back into life again, I didn't like the pain. It wasn't until I became that unwell and I realized that actually I was faced with perhaps long-term damage, that I needed to take it seriously, and that changed. That was the turning point for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so I'm just curious. Do you believe that we are the creator of our life? Like we are the one in charge, and we create every experience that we have in life, or do you believe something different?
No, absolutely. I believe that everything we think, everything that we are doing in each and every given moment is creating our reality around us, and it's affecting those around us, not just in our immediate environment, but it actually has a knock-on effect throughout the globe.
But I'm curious as to, so peeling the onion a little bit further, do you believe that you are the one that's creating your reality?
Yeah, I'm creating my own reality. We all create our own reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and I think that took that was trial and error until I suddenly realized that what I was thinking, I was projecting, and then I was recreating in my environment.
Yeah. So consequently, the illness is a byproduct of that, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Do you think most people understand this?
Not most people. I think it takes, you know, some people just are aware of this. You know, some people are totally awake with this. Others find this by accident, and some experience similar situations which wake them up to understand this themselves. So I think we all come at it from a different perspective for different reasons.
So isn't it amazing that if we are such an incredible creators, if we can create whatever we created for our lives so far, isn't that enough proof for people that we can create anything?
Oh, absolutely. But that's only if you have full belief in your potential. I think once you get there and you realize that you can constantly keep creating, then there's really no limits to what you can actually achieve as a human being. I was
So
very,
what? Go ahead.
go on.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I think the driving force for me was that my father was an entrepreneur. So anything he wanted, he got. Anything he wanted to create, he created. So I think I had that predisposition to
Mm,
constantly strive to achieve in that sense.
mm, okay. So what do you think in general? What stands in people's way?
I think, but more often
Or
than
let me
not,
put
it's
it
just,
another way. Why? And I'm gonna use a little off-color language, but why are people choosing to create crap when they can
mhm.
create incredible things?
Well, more often than not, people are oblivious to that. They just simply don't know. They're ignorant to the fact that they're actually creating that crap, and that's
Mm,
the simplest way to do it. They're doing the best they can, but they're doing it with limited reality. What they think they can achieve is limited by their perception of what their, you know, their power is.
mm. So in your experience, and you've been doing this a couple of decades, right?
Yeah.
So in your experience, what occurs for people um, that gets them to maybe the first step, which is awareness? How do they get there?
Usually, in my experience with the clients that come to see me, it tends to be health issues, relationship breakdowns, something that provokes somebody in a way that gets them to start to question what's going on. And usually they stop using the logical mind. It takes them that pause, that breath that they've taken, and suddenly they realize that actually something's going on here that I can't put my finger on, and they question. As soon as they question, is the first chapter I've
Mm,
written in my second book. Actually, it's awareness. As soon as we actually pause and we become
right,
aware, that's the first step.
right. And the second, I would say, probably is that once we become aware,
Hmm.
then we begin to question everything, including our own beliefs, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, with me, you know, it sent me into turmoil. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I didn't know whether I was in this reality or I was on another planet. And I think a lot of people do go through that experience. We don't know what's right and what's wrong because everything we believe in or used to believe in has suddenly been thrown up in the air, and we got to see where the pieces land.
Mm. So for the last 12 years, Amanda, we've been talking about on this network is to go within.
Hmm.
And do you find that to be accurate for your work as well? Is that all the answers are within us, and
Yeah,
everybody's kind of looking out there? There's something out there
yeah.
that's going to give them the answers, and there's nothing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that I create in my life, all the decisions I make in any given day, anything that I'm helping with a client to achieve is all from within. We always have to go inward, and that's where we find all the solutions and we connect with the right answers.
But it's interesting to me that people get so intrigued with all the shiny objects out there. Um, all the possibilities, all the things that other people may want to enroll them in or sell them, or you know how I know is because I've done it.
Hmm.
I was also bombarded with all these things, and I picked up a few of those shiny objects. Not that they really helped, but I was attracted to those shiny objects because I came to the conclusion that the reason I was attracted to them is because I didn't really know who I am. So how do you help people to find who they are, like really?
I think I think we all go through that stage, and I think that that's inherent from our childhood. You know, we see Christmas as magic, and magic is always the Christmas tree and the twinkly lights. So we assume that the external twinkly stuff is what's real, but actually the magic is that connection with family, and that all comes from the heart space. So I think that that's the first thing people have got to do. They've got to start looking at the emotions. What makes them feel like they want to take the next step forward in life? And we have to feel our way through life rather than think it.
Wow, very good, very good. It's basically how I live my life. I pay a lot of attention to how I feel.
Yeah,
what's
absolutely.
around me, what's happening. If it feels good, I stay in the environment. If it doesn't, I move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me this: the guys upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the book just a little bit. Just tee it up for us so we know what the book is really about.
Okay, so the book actually explains about the wrong choices that I made throughout my adulthood, so that people can see and get a perspective of where they've made their mistakes, when we've used logical thinking, and then when I started to make the turnaround, which is after my illness.
But hang
And I
on,
start
Amanda,
to,
hang on for a second. This is
yeah,
just kind of I when you speak, I pay attention to what you say. So
okay,
that's kind of unusual, isn't it? Okay, because most people are thinking about stuff about
yeah,
themselves and what's going on in their head. Um,
yeah.
so so is it really accurate to say
Mm-hmm.
that you made these mistakes? Because if you didn't have those experiences, you wouldn't necessarily be where you are today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all the mistakes, I see them as
And why
gifts.
do you call them mistakes? I'm curious about that.
Um, I suppose that's just old terminology. I
Hmm.
don't. I see them as lessons now, and I see them as gifts.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay. Okay,
but
good.
the terminology I used when I was younger was these were the mistakes I made
Mistakes.
because
Uh-huh.
I actually was hearing this voice, this inner self that was saying to me, "This is the route you need to take," and I ignored it.
Hmm.
So it was important for me to write about that, so people could understand this is the path you can take if you don't listen to your inner voice.
Right. Very good. So inner voice is basically the same as intuition. Everybody
Yeah.
has it, and
Yes.
I think we can say that this is a universal truth. Every time we hear our intuition and we don't follow it, there's going to be trouble.
That's right. It's well, we're still on the same path. We're still on the same tree. We're still trying to get from the root to the top. It's just that we meander off down the branches and we get a bit sidetracked. So we're just trying to learn and do the best we can and choose the right path for us. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we go through the struggle, but in all situations, we're always learning and experiencing from it anyway. And eventually we get there.
Yeah. Well, I'm somewhere. I don't know where I am, but a lot of the drama has disappeared from my life, and it's flowing really nicely, and
Mm-hmm.
things are coming together very naturally. I don't have to force anything,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes the network. It includes everything that I do, and I do this kind of work in corporate America, and it, it's not easy because a lot of people in corporate America are not awake.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured out a way how I get around and how I go through that without giving up who I am and my values.
Mm-hmm.
And oh boy, are they paying attention?
Yeah.
At the beginning, I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but I was curious. What drove me back into corporate America is really I've been doing this network for over 10 years at the time, and I realized that Steve, you're in a bubble. You created your own bubble. Your bubble is the network, and the network is protecting you because the people that are coming through the network are all people that are awake.
Mm-hmm.
Not that
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with that, but it's like,
Yeah.
how are you going to do this work if you're only speaking to people that are like you and understand everything you're saying? What about the rest of the people?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
That's absolutely it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that that's it. That's it. I suppose the reality of the book is that I take it out mainstream. We didn't want to, we were offered to go through particular publishing houses, which were going to be the sort of, the spiritual route. And I didn't want that. I wanted this to be a genuinely grounded mainstream book, because I wanted to get it out there and see the reaction. And we did. We had such a reaction to it that we actually had to come away from the publishers and rethink this, because it had such a profound reaction to it, that we thought, right, well, we didn't expect this. What are we going to do with this now? So now we've come at it from a different angle, and we're going into it. We're going straight into film, and we're going to take the book out again and re-release it, but this time even more mainstream. So we sort of dipped our toes in the water. We got, we got a bite from the fish, and we thought, actually, these aren't people that, dabble in the spiritual industry at all. These are everyday, normal people that actually realize there's something's going on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and we are, yeah, but you have to also break a few, you've got to break the stigma as well. And you've got to, what we're doing at the moment is groundbreaking, because we're going into the film industry. I have no knowledge of the film industry, but we're doing things the opposite way to how the film industry would want it, put it that way. And it's working.
Yeah, well, the way the film industry has done everything is working for them, because it's all about the money. And I'm not interested in getting into any kind of a film venture where it's just about the money. That's not my interest. My interest is to assist people, help people, and to help people awake. And the money is secondary, not primary.
Absolutely, it's about the message. I mean, if it's getting out to a global audience, then that's better than we ever thought it was going to be.
Oh, fantastic. So how does the book, The Guys Upstairs, how does that build? I understand that you incorporated your life story, and at the same time, when you're speaking about the guys upstairs, I'm assuming, I haven't read your book, but I'm assuming that what you're talking about is that you are connected to things that I guess a lot of us refer to as the unseen, the unheard. Energy, you are connected to energy, that things are coming through you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I started experiencing it at the age of 3. Because I couldn't work out logically where they lived, I assumed they lived at the top of the house, because I knew they were higher beings. So I called them the guys upstairs, naturally. And they've been with me ever since. And I mean, I talk
really,
about this.
That's really cute. The guys upstairs.
Yeah, but they were. I thought they were my friends, and I just assumed they lived in the loft. And I thought all my friends had these little angels that lived in their loft as well. So for me, I learned to trust them. Yeah. It was when I became a teenager, and I realized that not everyone was like me, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So how do you then intertwine your life story with the guys upstairs? How does that work out?
So they were with me throughout my childhood. So I talk about the fears and how they helped me get through that. Then they disappeared for a while in my young teens and my early 20s, and it wasn't until I lost my first daughter. She was taken by my first husband, and that's when they came back to me. And I talk about the frustration I had with them as well. I used to bully them and say, hang on a minute, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't want this sort of life. What's going on? I shouldn't have to go through this. And it was how I formed this relationship with.
So hang on, back then you didn't know, obviously, that you were creating this, right?
No. I just assumed that I shouldn't. I've had an abusive upbringing, so therefore I should have should be cut a good deal now. And that they weren't having that. They said no, that's not how it works. So they had to pretty much educate me on how I had to start to change my outlook, change my attitude towards them and myself. And then I would be able to get the results that I wanted. And I found it very frustrating. So I talk about that a lot in the book, until eventually I realized that patience and humility and humbleness and graciousness and all of these elements, non-judgment, all of these are are the, you know, the key things that we need to work on in ourselves as human beings.
Mm. Yeah.
And I can assure you, I wasn't working with any of that as a young adult.
Me either. I was very rebellious when I was young and
Yeah.
and very crazy. So yeah,
Me too.
I mellowed out.
Yeah, it's good to mellow.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. So what's the basically the end result, the end message of the book?
Well, the end message was actually, I've left it on a cliffhanger. Um,
Wow.
yeah, well, I didn't even know. I was in the last chapter, and I thought, well, how do I finish this? And it finished on a cliffhanger, and I thought, well, does that mean that I'm going to write another book? What I didn't expect was actually I got another condition. So I keep getting these secondary conditions from the meningitis, which I lost my business, home, and everything, and that was 2 years ago. And again, forced into writing again. And the book has actually been very cathartic, and now this is producing the film. So whereas I thought that all they wanted me to do was write this book, it wasn't. It was the book and the sequel and another one in between and the film.
Mm.
So I'm putting it in a little slip for a holiday after this.
So
Or my
so
P45. I don't know
so
whether you have that in these states.
yeah. So give us a little bit of just maybe an appetizer as to where the second book is going and where does the film going, and did you mention a third book? Where is this all going? Where are you heading?
Okay, so we've got a campaign behind the book. So
Mhm.
we're raising awareness, and it's not just in, as I say, with people who are waking up. It is actually in the health sector, in the judiciary, and in the policing sector as well. So we're trying to help educate professionals who are helping with victims of abuse. So it's having a massive effect on people who are reading this book, who are trying to get out of disruptive relationships. But we're trying to get a bigger message out there. The film itself will actually be based on the perspective of the guys upstairs. So it's going to be called Angel. And it's how that they work with the frustration of this young girl going through her journey in life, and how she's here to raise awareness and honor her mission, and which she ultimately does, which is to actually get this movie out there so it reaches millions. So I think if I'd ever known that this was going to be my path, I think I would have shied away from this many, many years ago. So it's yeah, as I say, it's all been on a need to know basis every step of the way.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So when you're speaking of helping to create or develop awareness, what are you specifically talking about? Awareness for what?
Awareness that we all have this power and voice. So
Mhm.
ultimately, I've just written another book, which is How to Find Your Power and Voice, which is the offshoot of the guys upstairs. People have said, look, you've written these memoirs. We want to know how you do this. So I was asked by a literary agent in Florida, actually, to write this second book, and I wrote it in 6 months. And it's the concept, it's the ethos behind what I teach to my clients and to my students. And what we need is everything that we need to be aware of to help us to understand about this innate power that we have to create and to overcome the challenges or the negative programming that stops us or blocks us from achieving our desires. And it only works if it's for the greater good of everybody. So I think that that's something that's fair, because it helps to make this better world to live in. So ultimately, it's to leave a legacy, and we all have this ability to leave this legacy, to leave something to mark our existence on this earth, and to help, to leave something for those that follow.
Mm. Yeah, I certainly do agree. And what's interesting as I'm listening is that I and I've been aware of this for so long that a lot of people are just, if we can talk about our existence as being in the matrix,
Hmm.
um, that everybody, not everybody, but most people, I would say a very high percentage of the population. We're talking about 7 billion of us. So I would say, I don't know, I'm just going to take a guess, like maybe 90% of the population is basically running on this trial software called Human Being. And they have no idea what's possible, but they are unwilling to upgrade because they are afraid that if they upgrade, they're going to have all this new functionality that they won't know what to do with, and they would lose out on who they think they are, which is, in most cases, just a pretense.
I think everything is changing. I mean, we've been going through this technological age of everything speeding up, and with that, it also challenges us as human beings with our own ability to communicate on a human level. So we've got this contrast going on here. You know, people are absorbed with technology, but also because of that, it's highlighting the very struggle that they're going through, which ultimately is trying to throw them back to who they are. And I think that this is where we're eventually going to be. And I think that that's going to be very much something that's going to happen in the media. The media is going to change because as we become more aware of ourselves, we'll demand stuff that's actually from real people, not what I call the shiny, happy people. It's from people who've gone through authentic change, who actually can show that they can validate this. And that will give the encouragement to others so that they can take that small step and to find their own path.
You mean the media will change so that it will not be about selling us something ultimately at all times? You mean that there's a possibility for an authentic media?
Yeah, I believe that that's the way we're going. I think if you look at the way the world leaders are changing as well, there's more of a feminine aspect that's coming into play as well. We hope, but as I say,
it certainly is happening here in this country, and I'm afraid that may not be the best thing.
Well,
but what do I know?
Yeah, well, as I say, there's more of people are embracing this more of a feminine energy that's coming in. You know, we came out of a Piscean age, which was dominated by man. I mean, you know, women didn't, you know, primarily say, right, I think I'm going to go and create war and get an army together. It's so I think we're coming into that age where we're allowing our feminine energy to come to the surface, whether we're male or female. And men are finding it more empowering to actually allow that to come and you know, to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something that's not just for men; it's women. It's for men as well.
Yeah, I certainly would hope so. I kind of find even the men and women thing to be duality in nature.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I thought about, okay, so how do I rise above that?
Yeah, but I mean, we all have a lot of, you know, I have a lot of masculine energy in me because of my upbringing with my father and my ability to need to survive. So I have to constantly work on my feminine energy, and I've spent many years working on that. And I think we do have dominant sides to us, and I think if we just keep working with that and honoring it, you know, we're not perfect, and that's the joy of being human. It's actually honoring everything that we need to work towards bettering in ourselves, rather than always trying to strive to be the best, you know, in you know, and be competitive. It's so cathartic, and it's so, you know, it's so much easier when you just relax into it and just give into life and just let it happen.
Very good. So would you like to share a little bit about your contact information, maybe how to get your book, how to, you know, maybe follow you on social media, just some of that stuff?
Yeah, sure. Well, the book's on Amazon, and it's called The Guys Upstairs. I've got a website, which is amanda-hart.co.uk. So all my contact details are on there, all my social media is on there, and if you just Google The Guys Upstairs or Amanda Hart Intuitive Consultant, you'll find me.
Amazing. And how do you, what different forms do you work with people?
In what way?
In meaning one-to-one groups, how do you spread this this knowledge, this wisdom of yours?
Yeah, I've always worked one-to-one for the last 20 years. I've been teaching since 2008. I've been working with children from the age of 8 up to, people in the 90s. And I go and give talks to people as well. So I go out and I can get out there and describe to them what I'm doing. So it gives them a pretty good idea of what they can do. I give them the snippets that they need for life.
Awesome. So what are some of the techniques that you may recommend to people how to get connected to go within?
Most importantly, it's meditation and it's grounding yourself. So there's that connecting to that higher self, but also there's that connecting to your earth space as well. So I spend a lot of time out in nature. That's where I clear myself from everything that is man-made. That's where you can really ground yourself and connect to your higher self. It's doing the stuff that is the simplest stuff, keeping away from too much technology. It's just the basics: eating well, sleeping well. But more importantly, it's belief. So there's 3 concepts that I say that's important. That's faith. You've got to have the faith. You've got to have worthiness. So you've got to feel that you deserve, and you've got to take action. So when you're prompted, you do the right thing.
Very good. I couldn't have said it better. Wow. Amanda, you were absolutely fantastic. Thank you for being in the world and doing what you do daily and assisting people to change their lives one person at a time. So thank you very much. You were absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming back to the network, and we invite you to come back at a future time, maybe when you start the movie. How are you going to market the movie? Is that going to be released just in the UK or
no? We've got the screenwriter works for 20th Century Fox, and we've got a film agent that's speaking with my agent next week about this going out to. We've already got people who are interested in the top the production companies as well. So we see it as going out through the US worldwide.
Fantastic. And how did you get funding for this?
We're not. It's all going to be worked out through the film agents. So it's I don't even have to worry about anything like that. You know what it's like, Steve. You just put it out there, and the universe rewards you with what you need to get this done. So I'm just working with the creative side with the screenwriter at the moment. That's what's important to me.
Fantastic.
To make sure it's authentic.
Well, I am in awe. Fantastic. Thank you very much for being of service, and for everybody else out there, the more you watch these shows, of course, on YouTube, the more they get up to the top 10. When they get up to the top 10 every and each month, they have an opportunity to go to public television or to cable television, or who knows where we take things next. Thank you very much for being here. Have a good night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place on ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
Good night.